Hey, welcome to Presence of Mind, another episode of Presence of Mind here, brought to you by Cloud9 and Kaiser Permanente. This is our bi-weekly series all about mental health, where we get to talk to all of you about all the things that are thinking about and all the things that are going on in your mind, all the things you're thinking about in terms of mental health, and all the ways that you can get better about having and adding more tools to your toolbox. I'm one of your hosts, Khalif Adams, and I'm joined this week and every bi-weekly week with Greg Miller. You see that we are rocking without someone this week.
Can you believe it,
Someone
Khalif?
decided.
The first decided. She's sick, sir. Alana Pierce is sick, everyone. Send her love on Twitter right now.
It's
She
true. It's true. It's true.
couldn't
It's
join
true.
us. It's the first time it's only been the duo, not the trio. I don't know how to feel about it, Khalif.
I don't know. Can we make the show happen with just two of us? Alana was the power. She was in the clouds.
I was gonna say we definitely lost the brains of the operation. So if you and I can keep the show going, we'll see.
How are you holding up? How's everything going with you? I know you are not in your usual place for good reason.
I am in a hotel room in Los Angeles because I'm on site to host E3 this weekend. And so, yeah, yesterday was rehearsals for E3. It's going to be a great show, obviously, Saturday through Tuesday, twitch.tv/E3. And then today was being in this hotel room, streaming Kind of Funny Games daily, and then right into Summer Game Fest, right? So going through all of Summer Game Fest for live reactions, then going through and doing post-game analysis, then catching up with Day of the Devs and watching that from the start to then talk about that as well. So I am imbibed with video games and energy and the fact that E3 is back, Khalif. It is back in some form, but it's here.
It is really cool to see, and that energy is very, very interesting because it's not been here for at least a full year of getting that on the ground running. Everything's going crazy, everything's going all over the place, and trying to figure out ways to kind of dig into everything that's happening in the video game space. But it's super excited.
When I had cold 2 p.m. lunch, that's when I was like, it's really E3. I'm exhausted and I haven't eaten and I've been talking all day. This is as real as E3 gets. How are you? How are you? What have you been up to?
I'm doing okay. It's been a really busy day. Usually Thursdays are fairly chill, and then it kind of gets to roll into the show when we get a chance to do it every other week. But today was wild. It was just busy from top to bottom, work meetings and jumping on to go do coverage about Summer Games Fest, then going back to work meetings, running into all these other things. If you see my Twitter feed, you see some pictures up there about some stuff that's happening too. And it's just been
Fauci. You spoke to Dr. Fauci today, according to your Twitter feed.
Yeah, I mean, mental health, physical health, they all go in, they all are connected, and you want to make sure. Again, we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show, but again, we were having conversations about being vaccinated and getting your vaccination shot. So please, 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 there are more than 160 million people right now in the US who have received their shot. So please, you can go do it. It's easy to go do now in terms of getting your shot. So make sure you go do that for sure. This week is going to be a really fun episode because this is one that I think all of us can get to talk to. We have some famous magical guests rocking with us as well on the show. But this week it's all about the streamer lifestyle, which is one that, Greg is living every day of his life at this point now. In terms of doing that. I'm kind of dipping my toes in the water here and there in terms of getting that stuff done. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about what it takes to become a streamer. What are the kind of mental hurdles that you have to go through, and figuring out good ways to kind of do that work in a way that makes you feel not only like you're giving your body a rest, but your mind a rest too. So we have some fabulous guests with us here, coming to us from Cloud9. We have EmZ and Kayla. How are you all doing?
I'm doing
Happy to
good.
have you.
I'm happy to be here. Nice to meet you.
Good job. I'm sorry, Kala. I got your name right. I messed it up in actual production. We got it right before the show. So, Kala, thank you so much for rocking with us too. How you doing?
Yo, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. So I'm excited to have you both on here. We're both excited to have you rocking with us this week because, we're in this space where you're both doing this for a living. You're rocking the streamer lifestyle, being full-time content creators and streamers in that space. I think a thing that doesn't really get talked about often is about your mental health and how you're kind of figuring out good ways to balance out all the things that you wind up doing in a day. The question I'd like to ask both of you is, EmZ, how are you doing? How's everything going for you right now?
It's going amazing, to be honest. Recently I just won a big, massive tourney when it comes to Warzone, and I don't know, like I didn't think I was gonna win it, but I done it, and it was just an amazing feeling. And I'm just over the moon right now. To be fair, I'm still got that winning feeling right now. But yeah,
Yeah,
I've been great. Thank you for
fantastic,
asking.
fantastic. Kyle, how you holding up?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I kind of like miss esports events and I miss
Oh yeah.
conventions and I miss shows and stuff like that. So that takes a pretty big toll. But in general, I'm doing a-okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, one of the things that we wanted to talk about this week with both of you is because you're doing so many wonderful things in the space, and kind of digging into so many multiple disciplines of things. When we do these shows, sometimes we don't necessarily know exactly who the guests are going to wind up being, and then you go back and you look at some of the work that they've done, and you look at what they've been doing on social, and it's a lot of stuff that you have to do to be a streamer out here during this part of the not the ecosystem, but a part of the culture at this point, because it's streamer culture at this point. Um, Kyle, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about, what does a day in the life of what you do look like? What does that actually kind of conceive of? What are the things you're kind of like poking at when you're like, all right, it's time to get up, it's time to get the things done. What's it look like for you?
So like I don't stream full time right now. It
Yeah,
was what I did maybe like 4 or 3 years ago.
gotcha.
But so I've kind of diversified from there, and I make music, and I work at Cloud9, and like I do a bunch of different things, but that's kind of what makes it difficult because you're trying to juggle yourself between so many initiatives. And like as a creator of any kind, whether it's a streamer, a musician, or anything like that, you're always like pushing yourself to try to create bigger, better, more fantastic things. And yeah, so like I mean the day in the life of somebody that's trying to do that is just probably a little bit of overanalysis, probably a little bit of anxiety, probably a little bit of self-doubt, and then you push yourself through it and you just keep creating. Like
Did
it's
you,
just it's a lot.
in terms of talking about being a streamer full time 3 or 4 years ago, what drove you to make the change to not have that be the full time anymore?
I never started streaming to be a full-time streamer.
Mm.
It just like ended up being that way. Um, yeah, so like for me, streaming is never a job. It's never anything more than just like a expression of self and like expression of art. Really, it's just a place for me to hang out with people and talk. And if that drives income, then it drives income. If it doesn't, I'm still going to do it. It doesn't really matter. So for
Sure.
me, I never had like a dollar sign in my head that was like, oh, if I hit this amount per month, then that means I'm successful. Like none of that ever mattered, and it doesn't matter right now. So I actually have a lot easier of a time not tying myself to those sorts of metrics of success, because I don't have that like stress of, oh, I'm not growing fast enough, oh, I'm not big enough, I'm not as good as X, Y, and Z, because I'm not streaming 12 hours a day 7 days a week like some of these people are. Yeah, so it's a little different for me.
I love that. I love that. Ems, what does your day look like when you're starting out and getting ready to put on the camera
Uh,
and get ready to play?
my day is quite kind of like smooth, to be fair. I'm really flexible and stuff, so I just get ready to do like my makeup sometimes if I have a bit spots, because I'm a bit insecure when I get on the camera if I'm looking a bit rough. But I just hop on and I just talk to my community, because I like creating that space if people, I don't know, like are going through a hard time, because I know how it feels. And yeah, it's just I'm really flexible, and I guess I'm like in my comfort zone sometimes as well. We're playing Warzone, so I do get a little bit of anxiety when it comes to playing other games, but I feel like that helps me like kind of grow in a way as a person, trying different games. Like recently I did like an Xbox competition, and it was wicked. Like I love doing it. So I don't know, it's about pushing your limits really, but overall, me as day to day, it's kind of, I'm really flexible, but I like to push my limits and try different things.
Huh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the, one of the things I think is always really interesting is the kind of balance of, physical health and kind of giving yourself a space to decompress, to kind of find yourself again after you've been on stream and kind of been on camera for so long, or, you
Yeah.
know, uh, what are you doing in that space to kind of, give yourself a good boundary to say, all right, now it's time to disconnect and maybe not, stay on for that extra hour when folks are like, let's come on, we got to get that extra game in. What are you doing to kind of give yourself good boundaries in that respect?
I try to like give myself like a schedule sometime, like spend time with my friends and talk. I don't really have that many friends in real life, so it's kind of a bit of a struggle. So I try to see my family, like my nan, she's like 10 minutes away. But when it comes to my online friends, we like plan to just play some games off stream. Sometimes they can be like silly games and it just like kind of relaxes you and you just become like calm and just giggle. It's a really nice feeling. But yeah, I definitely do stuff like that, just balancing my social life along with like obviously playing games and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a similar vein, Kala, for you, you were talking about obviously you do so much now, right? Whether you work at Cloud9, you know you're doing music. How do you partition out those multitude of creative avenues, right? You're talking about streaming is just something you do or whatever for fun, but how do you do checks and balances and make sure you're doing it as much as you want to, but not doing it enough to where it becomes a hindrance to the other ones?
That's like the great balance because you only have the potential to perform at like a certain amount without burning out, right? So it's
Sure.
really a matter of juggling things. And it's just kind of like a weekly reflection that I do for those sorts of things where it's like, you look back on what you did in the week and it's like, okay, maybe I could stream more next week and okay, I finished those 2 songs, so I don't really need to work on anything because I've distributed them all already. So maybe I can take like 5 days off of writing music and then I can focus on more of this sort of stuff. And it's really just those two that give and take. My regular work is always just kind of that static. I think the hardest part about my regular work is just the fact that I manage so many players and they're all over the world.
Sure.
So, sometimes I'll get hit up at 2, 3 a.m. and I like to be responsive. So it's like, I kind of, yeah, that's probably like the hardest part of that. But
That's rough. I mean, a lot of folks don't take that call at 2 o'clock in the morning to say, okay, I'm here for you when you might need me. Did you have things in your own life where you felt like, other people were there for you in moments like that, and that's why you kind of give back in that way?
no, I think it's the opposite.
Huh.
I felt like no one was ever there. So I feel like I want to be, because a lot of people need that. A lot of
Oh,
people don't
yeah.
have.
I think that's one of the things we talk about the most on this show, right? We talk about the mental health in the gaming space every other week, and so much of it is everybody needs help at some point. Everyone has thoughts they need to express to someone. You need to talk to someone, whether it be friends, family, a professional, or a crisis hotline when you feel like you can't go anywhere else. And so, yeah, that's so powerful that you feel like you've been on the other side of it where there wasn't someone to go to. And I think that could be as much a motivator as having a mentor in that space.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic that you take time to do that. Ems, I'm curious to hear about it from your end too. You talked a little bit about, I'm in the same boat with you in terms of most of my friends are online. Most of the
Yeah.
folks that I've been in contact with, especially during the pandemic, have been, in online spaces. Are you
Yeah.
all talking about it amongst your friend group about how you're all trying to support each other in that way of giving each other space to be able to kind of talk about your feelings and talk about where you're at and have that space for that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I do surround myself with people that really do lift me up. I like that. Without them, I don't think I would be as strong as I am, to be fair. Like, I don't know what I'll do without them because I know I'm an emotional person. I need to get my feelings out. And if I don't, I have a mental breakdown. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. But a cool thing about online, I've met so many people through gaming events. I feel like through the lockdown, like that was taken away from me. So like I got in a really like just, I don't know, like a dark spot because I live alone myself. So I didn't really have that many people around me. But when lockdown eased up, people online, we organized to like go all in towers and stuff. So it was just nice to just feel like normal again, if that makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Do you
Yeah.
find yourself doing a similar thing to what Kala was talking about of, kind of getting to the end of the week and taking stock of what you did and what you wish you had done more of or done less of? Because obviously there's so much going on in your life.
Yeah, I love to stream as much as I can, and then sometimes if I don't stream, I like beat myself up about it because I just love to just always stream and just provide that space for my communities that they're not alone themselves because they could be going through stuff, and I want to be
Sure.
there for them if that makes sense. So I just wish I could do more sometimes if I feel like I've not like met a target and I just like I don't know like overthink stuff, but I guess that's just normal because I'm just trying to be the best. Like I'm trying to be perfect. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone can be perfect. We all have our moments where we have to take time to ourselves and just
100%.
focus on like our own health, like physically and mentally, and just
I think that's so powerful, right? You see so many people who want to do that and help other people and don't take the time and don't take the stock to realize that you need to take, me time. You need to make sure you're okay. And that's why, even though I'm not the host of this episode, this is Khalif's episode. He's host this time. I still got to turn it around on him because he's trying to dodge it. Khalif, I want to know about you and how you balance all this stuff. Because even if you're saying, I don't stream that much or I'm dipping my toes in it. Like you podcast all the time. You work all the time. And when I say work, I'm talking about Spawn on Me and stuff like this and being a video game personality and also being a voice, right, for an entire, I would say, minority in the gaming industry, right? Like that you've taken on so much of that, so much responsibility, but you also have a day job and you also have a wife and you also have a life. Like, how do you go about balancing all that and having the opportunities that have been presented to you in the past year?
There's a thing called masking tape. You take that and you put it right on your eyelids and you put it so you lift it so that you don't go to sleep.
Sure.
Because what is sleep? Sleep doesn't exist. I mean, it's interesting. I think of all of this in a really interesting way. I'm definitely the oldest person on the stream today. And I got into all of this very, very late, into my late 30s. And figured out when you started to get this really good momentum towards me being more visible in the gaming industry and finding more ways to kind of get involved with stuff and getting to meet folks like Greg and collaborating with him and other people around the industry who I care about and admire as fans before we became friends. I think of all of this as like a really tight window of opportunity. So it drives me really hard to say, I'm an old fart, so I'm going to be out of here in another 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. How do I maximize the amount of stuff I'm able to do while hopefully garnering some good energy around the work that I do and the things I care about? So it's me. I remember very much so a couple of years ago writing it down on a whiteboard saying, this is going to be my year of yes. And somebody was like, what does that mean? I was like, everything that comes my way, I will say yes to. It's going to be bad for me. I know it is. I'm an introvert. I don't have a lot of friends outside of my online friend circles.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of time to be able to get so many things done that I get done in a day. I did a stream today. I did 3 streams today. Did my 9 to 5
But
job.
I'm not a streamer, he says when we start this conversation.
I mean, they were short. They were like blasts of things that were really quick. But again, it's like, I know that for the benefit of the work that I want to do to kind of get bigger and to grow the stuff that I want to do, I am sacrificing some time on the back end to get some things on the front end. And I think that those things have been helpful. So the answer is it's really hard. It's extremely difficult to try to figure out how to cram everything into a day.
When you say, you had this thing of this is going to be my year of yes, right?
Yeah.
How hard was it to start saying no again? Like, I feel like for all of us with streaming opportunities or opportunities in general, right? Like that gets that you're trying to chase it. You're trying to grab it. You're trying to hustle. And that's what we, nose the grindstone, burn the candle at both ends, yada, yada, yada. There comes a point when you have to say no, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying no more now because I've gotten to a space where I can say no and feel good about it, which takes a while. I think a lot of folks and I'm sure EmZ and Kala can share some thoughts about this too, about when you've gotten to a particular place where you feel like you're in a space where you can see some success and you're like, oh, this feels really good and I'm excited to kind of be here and I can see even more success down the road. There is at a point where you're like, my body and my brain are going to tell me no before my mouth will tell me no.
Sure.
And that's what usually winds up happening. And I'm fortunate enough to not gotten, sick or, have any kind of mental breakdowns or anything like that. Cause I'm pretty even keeled as a human being. But I definitely say no more now because I understand that I just can't fit everything into a day or I can't fit everything into a week. And sometimes those opportunities that I wind up missing, it's a L that I have to take, and I'll try to figure it out on the back end to see if I can make up for it at some other point and see if that works. But you're doing the same work too. You have so many things going on too, Greg, where you're constantly working and
I think
trying
all
to figure
four
out
of us
stuff out.
do, right? And that's the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing here is like, I think that, we talk about these things from our perspective and what we do, but it's about letting the audience see that and then have this conversation with them. Of course, we're looking at the Twitch chats and we have people in Discord taking down all sorts of questions if you have them, but it's about how do you balance all that? And so I would come back to Kala and talk about the fact that, you're talking about how you want to be there for everybody. And actually, that's a great point. If we can full stop for a second, educate me. I'm sorry. What is your role at Cloud9? We should ask this at the front.
Yeah,
probably.
that's my fault.
I manage players, so I manage
Okay.
Twitch streamers and then the World of Warcraft team.
Gotcha.
So I've got 18 players that I manage.
And so how did you get into that line of work? How did that become a thing that you wanted to do at Cloud9?
Like I started it I guess a long time, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I was working as an analyst for the esports org Fnatic for one of their Heroes of the Storm teams. And I worked there for a while, and then I got a job as a coach at Tempo Storm, and I coached their HOTS team for a couple of years. And like management work kind of goes hand in hand with the coaching work. If you're traveling overseas to tournaments and stuff like that, you're basically kind of overseeing and managing the whole operation. So once that job kind of naturally came to a close, I gotta, just because I've been vocal, I've built up a network over the past couple of years back then. I got a job offer from Cloud9 as a manager, because they're like, hey, he's like in tune with Blizzard games. We're looking to get a WoW team, and it kind of just worked out from there. And yeah, and with that job, that was basically when I stopped streaming as much as I was.
For sure.
Makes sense. I love to hear that the dichotomy between the two folks that we have on the squad today, because I think of WoW as a very chill game, and I think of COD as a very aggro game, in the way that they both are played, in the way that the communities kind of come together, and the energy that comes along with both of those games in that way. Kala, I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts about, like, what does toxicity look like in the WoW community? Because it's a thing that I see that we're all having conversations across the shows we've done here. But what does that even look like in the WoW community at this point?
Oh man, it actually it encompasses everything. So like with games like World of Warcraft, like degenerate I guess you'd say like degenerate play styles are encouraged, because the longer you play the game, the more you grind, the more stuff that you can like achieve, the more harder you can flex on your opponent, sort of thing, right? Like it's legit a game of numbers. So if you're playing more, you will have more. And so naturally that creates a pretty toxic environment where people will sacrifice self and sacrifice mental health and physical health, relationships, and their jobs. And I don't even have to name them all. I'm sure we're all very well aware of the IRL stuff that we can sacrifice for games. But in a game like World of Warcraft, the issue is definitely heightened. And then on top of that, there's like a private server meta where people play like old versions of the game on private servers, and they're not really like regulated like a regular Blizzard server is. So I'm sure we've all played like a Call of Duty lobby before, where people will just run their mouths, and like that sort of stuff exists on those servers because you don't get banned for saying certain things. So yeah, it's basically just a hive of scum and villainy there. And then on top of that, like there's just the elitist mentality in MMOs in general, especially one that's been out for 15 years. Like there's a massive elitist mentality issue in World of Warcraft. But I kind of painted a very negative scene in WoW. It's certainly not like that all the time. It's as you said, it's chill. It's a vibe.
Yeah, I love that. EmZ, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about how that contrasts to the COD community right now, and the way that things kind of roll in the literal war zone.
Yeah, the thing with Warzone, I guess it is pretty toxic sometimes when you kill people and there's death comms. They do say a lot of crazy stuff, like so many swear words, and just it is a bit too much sometimes. And I remember one time I used to have like my Twitch in my name, so when I kill someone, they would come over to my Twitch, and oh my god, they were starting to uproar in my chat, call me all the names under the sun. And especially when they find out I'm a girl, sometimes people make comments that I'm a female, and it's just like, come on, dude, like just have fun. Like it's just a game. Go into another game, it's fine. But it can be toxic. But some of them are really supportive as well, like the community in Warzone. Like we do help each other out and stuff. But there is a bit of toxicity in the scene, and it's kind of sad. But Yeah.
Yeah.
Has that always been something that just rolls off of your back, or did you have to get into a mindset about it?
I kind of got into a mindset about it because when I used to play Call of Duty, I used to snipe a lot, and I used to do like YouTube. So I used to get loads of YouTube comments, like either disrespecting how I look or just anything like that.
Sure.
And it used to really upset me. I used to like overthink it. I used to get super insecure. But then over time, I just like stopped caring because I'm not here to impress people. I'm here just to make people happy. Like that's all I care about at the end of
Oh,
the
man.
day. So over time, I just try to push it to the side and just get on with my day because all I want to do is focus on the positive side than the negative side, you know, because it just drains you if you just focus on the negative side all the time.
100%. Yeah. Know that well.
Yeah.
That is a lot of the spaces that I wind up occupying when I play games because I'm super competitive, so I know what that means when you're in that space too. At this point in your careers, what's the kind of best part of what you get a chance to do that kind of helps to kind of regulate your mental health? Is there, we talked a little bit about, meditation. We've talked about lots of different things that, as tools that you'll be able to kind of work into your daily regimen. Is there a specific thing that you do after you've, played a scrim or, you've run a raid or done any of that where you're just like, this is the thing I need to do to kind of get me back to a good space? Kyle, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
I live like at the base of a mountain. So every single day, no matter what, I will force myself to hike to the top of it. And like it's without like I will do this every single day, even if I don't want to, even if I'm too tired or too this or too that, because I know what it does for my mental health. And just like that moment of disconnect, that hour and 15 minutes it takes to get from my door to like the top and back, like is so paramount to my like physical and mental health. And the other thing that I do, it's not every single day, but 5 days a week, probably minimum. I cook. I think that's like a skill or like a function of humanity that has been lost on like the content creator / online grind community. There's so many people that just order their food every single day.
Hey,
and
I can just DoorDash it. What do I need to do this
yeah,
for?
it's
Right?
so bad, dude. It's so bad. I hate that whole like it's yeah. I could go on about this topic, but that's what I make sure I do. I make sure that I cook
Sure.
and eat well and hike. So those are like the two things.
What was the last bomb meal that you made that you were like, oh, I just did it today?
I mean, I every day, baby.
Yeah,
Every
let's
day
go.
when we
That's what I'm
whip it
talking
up.
about.
Like last night we made just like a beauty chicken Alfredo. It's not like
Yeah,
you don't have to cook giga healthy all the time. You don't have to do any of that, but you just gotta cook every day, man.
I
It's
love
so
it.
good.
I love it. I love it. Ems, what's your thing that you do to kind of regulate and kind of get back to a good space?
I remember I actually struggled with this to try and like figure out what to do, but I found that like drawing, because I used to draw so much like throughout my childhood and I just loved it. It would like help me express how I felt. So I definitely draw. And I know this sounds really strange. Sometimes I would have a bath and just put bath bombs in there and like some
Yeah.
Radox, and I would just like relax, and it just feels amazing. And then some other things I do is like watch series on Netflix, because I live alone. Like there's not much like I don't know that I want to do, but I just love watching like a series, either with a friend or my partner and stuff. It just like relaxes me and just chills me out. But yeah, I feel like I want to go to like the gym more, but I just know that I need like a gym buddy or something to do that. I don't know. I can't see myself going to a gym because of my anxiety and stuff. So, but we'll see what the future holds with that. But I definitely draw, baths, and just series.
For sure.
Yeah.
What I love about both of your answers, right, is that they are so personal. And like, it's, for you, Ems, to be like, oh, the gym thing, I know it wouldn't work for me, or you couldn't get it. Like, that's so important, because I think when we talk about this, when we talk about ways to de-stress or, just take the pressure off, there is no turnkey solution. There is no one thing for everyone that works, right? And so it's about trying new things. It's similar to what you're talking about, Ems, with different video games, right? Of trying to get out of your comfort zone and find something that works for you, and actually going through it and having those moments. Because I know, even for me, right, at the end of the day, like the easiest thing for me to actually do it is to take that breath and not look at a screen. Like, and that sounds so simple, but I can't tell you how many times Jen, my wife and I were just joking around about it, right? Of like, all right, she shut her laptop. She's like, time to take a break from the big screen, go to little screen, right? And it's like, I notice that I'm always connected. When I notice I'm having a day and I'm always on something, to put it down and just either talk to someone, to, you know, walk the dog, to just enjoy the outside. Like, that is such a refilling moment that I think you can easily blow past, but that's not for everybody.
It's super hard. I mean, I know I struggle with that now even more than anything else, because I'm constantly checking numbers and checking analytics.
Sure.
And like, oh, that thing that I put out, did it work well? All that kind of stuff. And you know, you kind of do that now.
Well,
The
it's the very show we're doing, right? As you guys were talking, I'm clearly listening and part of it, but I was like, what is the concurrent on this? And what is the concurrent on what's the concurrent on Cloud9? And what's the concurrent on Kind of Funny Games? And it's like, that's how we all think now, is that you're constantly, how many times are you having a conversation with somebody and you're texting somebody else or slacking somebody or just checking an email or looking at Twitter? And it's like, our attention is always so shattered. And so to have those moments where you can put it down and focus on one thing, and especially if that one thing is just, hey, let's take deep breaths. Let's just look outside at the sun.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think about, you know, especially for you, EmZ, you're in this super uber kind of competitive space, right? Where you're constantly trying to figure out, like, how do I, you know, find out better tactics? How do I figure out, you know, how to keep myself on my A game? Do you have a ritual for that part of it too, where, you know, we talked about the kind of come down where you're, you know, relaxing from that kind of heightened state, but how do you even ramp yourself up to get to a space where you can perform at the space that you really want to?
I like to practice like constantly to try, like, because I do overthink it sometimes. If I perform bad, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like becoming washed. Oh my god, I'm becoming like a terrible player. But then like I just build myself up by just playing with my friends and just playing pubs and just trying to just improve like how I play the game, learn the map, rotations, guns that fit me better, just stuff like that, and just keep playing and playing. And then I just build a confidence. And then when it comes to a tourney day, I then perform, and then I'm like, yeah, that's made me feel good. And then, as I said earlier, I won that tourney and it's gave me a lot of confidence. So it's just a nice finish, just practice at the end of the day that builds me up, I guess. And I see that I'm improving. Yeah.
Kyle, I know you're deeply into music and music creation and being an artist in that side. How has that kind of helped you in your mental health journey as well?
Oh, it's so important, man. It's crazy. There's some days where you don't really know it's happening when it's happening. It just happens. That's an awful way to say it, but like as an example, I'll just like sit down and I'll write a song, and then all of a sudden I have like this flow state that I get into that's just like this emotional spewing, this stream of consciousness about a topic that I didn't necessarily want to talk about, or like, you know, it just like comes out. And sometimes I'll be crying, singing into my microphone, and sometimes I'll, you know, be happy, or sometimes it'll be this or that, and the topics can just range. But music for me is just like a huge emotional outlet. Without like that creation aspect of my life, I would be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I weirdly find myself digging into that in other ways too. Like, I make music on my phone. I've been learning, you know, other stuff like game development. There's a lot of weird, like extra layers of stuff that try to keep my mind not only just active on trying to make stuff, but also trying to not make stuff, but remembering that, like, when I'm in my best moments, I'm like thinking about the thing that I want to make, and sometimes not just making it, which also feels kind of great as well. Greg, what's your version of that? Do you have, because I know you wear so many hats in that respect. I'm curious about the, like, not the come down moment, but like, you're like, hey, I'm about to host E3. What's your ramp up moment for you to kind of get into that space to like lock in so that you can perform it the best way that you know how?
I mean, I think it's everything we're talking about here of taking care of yourself and knowing your limits, right? And I think, I'm based in San Francisco. To come down here to LA to do this, right? It was coming in on Tuesday to rehearse on Wednesday, to then do our shows from this hotel room Thursday and Friday, and then, go out and perform Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And it's that weird thing of in the build up to this, Jen and I went out for a nice dinner last night. We're going to see some friends. We saw friends on Tuesday. We'll see some more friends here tomorrow. And it's that idea of like, that's all well and good, but it goes on lock, right? Friday evening. where it's like, I'm not, these are early call times and they're all day shoots. And I am not this is not like it was at IGN when I was 25 and could go out and get wasted and come in hungover and host 2 interviews during E3 and then go see a bunch of games. Like there's a entire day worth of programming hanging on me, right? So it's like, I try to be in that mental state of it. And I think, again, for me personally, because this is all such a personal conversation, I've already talked about, your attention being pulled in so many different ways and so on and so forth. What I love about hosting something like E3 is and this says something, I think, for the way Kind of Funny works, is that act of giving me one role often feels like a vacation. I love the idea of going there and all I am is a host, which means that when I'm on stage, all I'm doing is hosting. What are the concurrents? What is the chat saying? I would love to know that, but that's not the job. The job is to make sure I'm interviewing this person and talking about this and reacting to that and reading off the prompter. And that is always enlightening and freeing to have one role, because of course, Kind of Funny is that I'm doing the show. I'm doing Kind of Funny Games Daily today, but then I'm also remembering I didn't put in the headline and then I got to request a thumbnail. And then how are we promoting it? And what's my tweet? And does Andy hear it? And are we choppy? And this, and it's like, you're wearing the producer, the hat, the writer, the everything else about it, gathering, the news for it. And so building up to these often is I feel like it's the weight falling off of what the real job is. Like, I like getting to that point, starting to pare it down. And even tomorrow, of like, I'm not hosting Games Daily, I'm co-hosting it. So Blessing Bill's the show and he drives. And then we're doing reactions, but Tim will be there for Coke Media and he'll be like lead on it. And I just have to ride into it. And then we get to the actual day and I'm doing that. And then of course, because I am myself, that I made sure in the contract I host E3. And then when I go, all right, and now here's the Xbox event, I run upstairs to a crow's nest where I will then go into Discord and react with my team on our channels to it. But again, that's me just popping on. I don't have to worry about thumbnails, headlines, publish information. Are these things stepping on each other on YouTube? And again, that comes down to the fact that over the years we've built a squad. And I think that is something I can't say enough on why it's, we talk about this, I feel like every week when we get to this part of our careers and talking about you, Khalif, and how I'm amazed every day at what you do, because I know Spawn on Me is you, and you are off doing so many different things, including a regular job, including different opportunities. And the fact that I'm able to go out and do so much is very much because there is a Tim, Nick, Andy, Kevin, the list goes on back home, making sure everything's going on.
It's busy, but I think it speaks to the conversation around the topic of this week's show, which is about the lifestyle that we've all chosen to live and how we all wear so many different hats. Like, EmZ, are you as the person who is running a lot of your stuff, your stream, you have an amazing amount of followers on Twitter. What's the even in that respect, if you were to think about how many hats you wear now, what would you say that would be?
Like, I do everything when it comes to all my social medias. I do get help with my TikTok sometimes from an actual viewer in my Twitch, and I'm so grateful for them. But I used to do like YouTube a lot. I used to upload every day, but juggling YouTube with streaming as well, like as much as you can, with then editing to like post on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, it is a lot. And when I started doing streaming seriously, I realized that, and I started to realize that I was getting really stressed. And I'm like a perfectionist. So when it comes to YouTube videos, I want everything to be perfect. Otherwise, I will do it again and again and again until I'm happy, and then I'll post it. But there is a lot like to do, and it does make you stressed. And I feel like that's why at the moment my YouTube hasn't really been posted a lot, and that's just because like it does really stress me out, because I love streaming for long hours, and then I'm like, damn, I haven't got time to edit. So it's just a lot. Like it really is. And then I just like beat myself up thinking I should be doing more. Like, what's going on? But I know like I can't do everything. Like I can't juggle everything, So yeah.
Kala, what are you saying to folks on the teams that you're managing, of giving them good advice to kind of balance things out in a way that's best for them?
Honestly, the topic doesn't come up too much.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. I think kind of most of the people that I work with or that I manage, they have a pretty good grasp and understanding of the balance required in order to not just completely burn out. So I haven't really encountered that a whole lot. Most of like any sort of professional recommendations I've made for physical or mental health to any of my players has been legit, just like organizing physiotherapy and like teaching them about proper stretching and stuff like that, because a gamer's only as good as their hands are healthy, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the extent of any sort of thing like that I've been involved with my players.
Mm. EmZ, are you doing that work too? Is that a thing that Cloud9 has been helping to kind of give you as well? Is like, here are some ways to take care of yourself
Oh yeah.
and keep yourself great.
Oh yes, definitely. Like Carlo's actually my manager, and he's helped me a lot when I've approached him with a question. He's always got the great. He's always got the great. He's always got the greatest advice, and it really does help me. So it's like, yeah, definitely. Like I don't know where I would be without Cloud9. They've helped me a lot, and I've grown so much as a person because of them. So like, I'm super grateful. They've literally changed my life. So
I mean,
yeah.
I don't work for Cloud9 and I'm not on the team, but I want Carlo to manage me too. The chill vibes are so dope. I appreciate them
Let's go.
in all those ways. If you're thinking about ways that you can also kind of find more tools for your toolbox, go to findyourwords.org as well, so that you can, add some extra layers to the skill set that you are trying to gain. There's a lot of really great resources on the site that you can go through and check out so that you can have the best mental health as possible. It is super, super important to go over there and go check that out. So findyourwords.org is a perfect place to go to get some more things in your toolbox that you'll be able to kind of work into the space. Greg, I'm really curious really quickly about, looking at everything that's happening right now. You talked about the team that you've built and the team that you have with you and the squad that you have. Are you all having those conversations too in the office to say, not in the office because you're not in the office, but around, around the interwebs in the way that you're all talking to each other, but like, how is everybody doing? Is everybody okay? Does anybody need anything? Are you having those conversations too?
I assure you, I've never had a conversation with my team where I tell them how to exercise. That wouldn't be in my toolbox of things to do. But I'd like to think we are, right? Like, it's always so hard to paint with a broad brush because I never want to say, oh, of course we do, and ignore the fact that nobody's reached out to Barrett. Nobody's talked to Joey about this. And so it's difficult. And you hit the nail on the head, I think, especially, right? Of like, there is no office. Right? Like the office made it simple. The office made it easy to be in there and have it whoever, like what me off sometimes, right? Where you finish a show, but then you're short or you're quiet or you clearly get a text or a phone call that didn't go well. And you're able to be like, hey, what's going on? What can I do? How can I help you? Yada, yada. We lose that, right, during work from home. And so that has been difficult, where it is the idea that, I'd like to think I'm good at it, where I hear it in somebody's voice. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And okay, let's slow down, let's fix it, and let's do whatever. But then again, beyond that, even there are the conversations of like, are you okay? And the check-ins and stuff like that. And I'd like to think we're doing enough to be there. And I'd like to think from the, whether you're coming to me or one of the other co-founders, right, the bosses, like I know those conversations happen when something happens in people's lives. Like obviously, the employees all have different relationships with each one of the bosses. So I will get, Tim had a conversation with X, Y, and Z about whatever's going on in their life. And so I like to think that's there. I like to think that, kind of funny, our whole shtick, right, is that we are all best friends. And so we do all wear that on our sleeve. And that is a thing that, we tell the team all the time of like, when we build up to something like E3, where it's like, cool, you're working Saturday and Sunday, which means you have to take time off, like take days off. And then it always is the interruptive, like, also remember, you can take days off whenever you want. Like the work will get done, and I think we try to lead by example with that. Cause I think, myself, especially, I am if you let me, I will work from sun up to sundown. You know what I mean? Like even today at breakfast, we were walking back to the hotel, and my wife Jen was like, it's funny how we're both writing emails in our head now, because we had crossed 8:40, right? And it was that thing where we were both quiet as we walked after a lovely breakfast because we were already into work mode. And it's hard to turn off work mode. And I think that's what this show we always talk about. And how do you get out of that? And what do you do with it? And so I'd like to think, the team knows that and we have those conversations, but I'm sure it's never enough. And so I think that is why you see, when we have our child in October, right? I'm gone for 3 months. I'm gone. Like I'll pop in for, I'm sure, the occasional review, but like, I'm not doing games daily. I'm not doing PS I Love You. I'm not doing any commitments. And, you know, Andy had said something when we talked about that on the post show of the Kind of Funny podcast, where we talked about our, you know, conception here of a child. And he was like, that's so cool that, you know, you and Jen own your own companies, can do that. And I did a full stop, and I'm like, yes, but also keep in mind, like, this isn't me going off as an owner of Kind of Funny and being like, I'm gone for 3 months. This is me hopefully being the pace car, so that whenever you do get to a moment like this in your life, or you just need a mental sabbatical, like, that is okay. The company will be there when you get back. The things that you did will be there for you to take back over, or we'll figure out a new method to do them. But this whole company doesn't rest on someone's shoulders. You can all walk off when you need to and take the break.
Yeah. It is important to kind of know that you have folks in your corner being able to do that work, and sometimes be able to kind of balance you out in that way. I know probably maybe 2 years ago, I was in that kind of boat where I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about hanging it up. I'm about to just dip out of here and pack it up and go do my 9 to 5 and not do any more content creation. I'm curious to hear from Kala and EmZ. You know, you're both fairly young. You know, you have a long life of content creation, or you know, being
You got your whole life ahead of you, not like me and
so
Khalif.
young.
We're so
young.
The clock's ticking.
But I'm curious, have you ever had that thought? You know, Kyle, I know you talked about kind of shifting gears from making content to, or now into kind of the more coaching spaces. Did you ever have that moment where you're like, you know what, I don't mind just dipping out and quitting all this nonsense and going and do something else?
Not really. I don't know. I've never thought of my work or my life as me being tied down to really anything. So
Hmm.
I can't really. There would be no quit. Like, I don't know what I would quit.
Yeah.
It's just so. It's just part of who I am. The reason why I got into what I'm doing right now is just because instead of like listening to what my parents told me to do with my life, I instead just did what I wanted to do with my life.
Mm.
And then money sort of came, and like self-sufficiency sort of came. So if I were to quit everything that I was doing right now, I would just be quitting myself, and I'm not interested in doing that. So
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that answer. That's fantastic. EmZ, I'm curious to hear about it from your angle. I know that, you know, you're probably at the top of your game right now, but I'm sure that there's been, alongside all of the kind of getting to this point, there's been a
Yeah.
lot of, you know, a lot of crap talk from people out in the world, and that kind of stuff. I'm sure you might have had a thought here or there, but like, maybe this isn't worth it, or that maybe being a thing.
Yeah, like during Cloud9, it hasn't been, but before Cloud9,
Yeah.
definitely there has been. Like, cause I lost my mum, and like I thought, you know what, I just want to do something different. I don't think I can do this. But then I said to myself, do you know what? I know how much my mum knew that I love this, so like I want to actually try and succeed. So I continued, and then the org that I was a part of before Cloud9, something just happened. They folded or whatever, and then I basically was a part of that for 5 years, and I thought, oh my god, everything's falling apart. Like, I was just stressing out. But I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm not going to give up, because I love doing this. I love making people smile, happy, all that stuff. And I just put myself out there. And then that's when Cloud9 approached me, and, you know, they changed my life. So yeah, I did feel like just giving up at one point, but Cloud9 showed me the light, and I was like, yeah, okay, let's do this.
I
But yeah.
love it. So I want to hear a little bit about that day when they kind of came up and was like, "Hey, we want to put you on the squad." What was that like?
I was blown away. I was just like, wait, me? You want me to work with you? Like, wait, what's going on here? Like, I basically did a tweet saying I'm looking to work with an org, because I just love working with a team, like, of people that are just as passionate as me. And when they approached me, I was like, this is not real. This is a dream. But I was just over the moon. And then the next day when I woke up, I still couldn't believe it happened. I remember tweeting, be like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm in Cloud9. And yeah, it's just a great feeling. Like, honestly, just super grateful. I still am. But
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Ems, I
I
have a
love
question for you. You know, you talk about, you know, you want to bring joy to people's lives, and you talked about how, you know, you're there with your community, your streaming community, and you're there for them, and they're there for you. When you started this journey, did you know that was something that was going to happen? Did you like set off to build that community, or did that just happen naturally? Did you notice at some point that people were leaning on you that way?
No, it just happened naturally, I suppose. Like, because I feel like I have went through things that is a bit, I don't know, tough, and I know other people out there go through it too.
Sure.
And like, people just come into my DMs sometimes, and I do respond. So it just happened naturally, and I like helping people, so I'm just there, and then yeah, it just happens.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that. I dig that. I mean, the other kind of angle on that, or the other kind of, pillar of, the balance of quit and burnout is, because you're all doing so much work all the time and trying to figure out good ways to be good examples for the people around you. What's the kind of mental toll for both of you to be the person that is the one that gets leaned on a lot? I know that that's a thing that a lot of people think about, of trying to figure out good ways to be there for folks, but also, needing other folks to be there for you. Do you feel like you have a good balance in your life when it comes to that too at this point? Ems, I'm thinking about you first on that one.
I feel like I do. I try my best to be there for like everyone in my life if they're going through something. And they give me that same respect if I obviously need someone to talk to. So I feel like I have a great balance. And if I don't, like, I do have like my family and stuff to talk to. So yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. Carla, what's that look like for you? Do you feel like you have enough folks in your life who you can kind of lean on as well when you're a little bit down?
Yeah, definitely. I've got my close inner circle of friends and stuff like that I can talk to about anything or just be completely open with no matter what. As far as like my stream community and stuff like that, I actually think for myself, I like to put up barriers and boundaries for my just my mental well-being, because I'm so empathetic that if I'm just getting hammered with just like depressing story after depressing story, and I need to feel the need to be there for somebody on cooldown like that, it just like completely melts my brain, and I can't be there for anybody if I'm trying to be there for everybody.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
instead I just I put my personal experiences and my stories and my self-help material out there through my music, because a lot of the topics that I talk about in my music is you like mental health issues. So that's kind of how I do my part, but yeah.
Huh. I
That
love
makes a
that. I
lot of
mean,
sense,
that's hard too, because that's very, very revealing, and that's a thing that is very, very transparent. And I think a lot of people have struggled with that. I know we're lucky enough to be able to do this show and kind of share an extra layer of ourselves in that way that a lot of people don't necessarily get a chance to see. But it's also awesome to hear that you're doing that in a kind of artistic way that is also pretty sweet to be able to do that kind of stuff in that space. So that's pretty awesome. Greg, when you're in your most kind of sad moment, what's
Sure.
the first thing that you kind of go to, a person you go to, or thing that you like to kind of dig into to kind of give yourself a space to kind of revamp and find a good avenue to get back to a good space?
I mean, that's a big question, Khalif. When things are wrong, right? It's multiple things. Like for me, when I'm angry or I'm grumpy or I'm sad, the problem I run into is that I know I am, and I know there's not an easy fix to it, and so it is a checklist of like, what can be done about this. And it's something we talked about, last week or 2 weeks ago with Gary, right? And being able to open up and just talk to somebody and why that's helpful. And so if it's that easy, talk to Jen about it. But there's plenty of times where I'm just grumpy for no reason. I don't know. It's been a long week and I'm exhausted. I woke up. And so it's about trying to get myself out of it and figure that out and have that checklist of like, well, what would make me feel better? And, is it a nap? Is it something as simple as that? Is it as simple as being hungry? Like there's a bunch of that kind of stuff. But usually, yeah, it's talking, and it's talking to Jen, it's talking to Tim, it's talking to whoever I need to talk to about it, to express that and get that weight off of you. Because often the things that are, dragging you down and have you been out of shape, that, you can sit there and be like, I don't know what it is, but oftentimes there is one thing, right? What do you keep coming back to? What is the thing you keep coming back to in your mind? And it's about addressing that, and having that thing hanging over you and addressing that one demon. Like, sounds simple, but we all know how tough that can be.
Oh, it's so hard. I'm such a fuss bucket when it comes to stuff like that all the time. When I'm just like, oh, and my poor wife, because she's like, really, that thing again? Is that the thing that's really
what
going to
we're
be
worrying
the thing
about?
again?
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Is it really that? And I was like, well, I don't know what to do with that energy. Like, what do you need to do to make sure that energy's not in the space? I'm lucky enough that it's really hard. I think a lot of people just don't really go through the process of doing that kind of self introspection and doing that mental audit to say, like, what is actually under the surface here
Totally.
that is in that space. I know that gaming is also a thing that helps me to kind of remove that, but it also sometimes adds that to it. You know, I'm a Mortal Kombat player and I get salty when I lose because I'm supposed to be good and I'm not anymore. Sad.
Dude, I
Right.
feel like there's nothing worse than when I'm bent out of shape and I'm like, well, video games will help. And I sit down and I do that thing where you go through every game you have and you're like, I don't want to play any of these. I want to
Yep.
play the thing that isn't out for 6 months or 3 weeks or next week. Like, this sucks. And then I'm
Yeah.
even angrier because now I'm angry about this.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, well, I can't complain because all this other stuff, and I'm all that kind of stuff. Do you both have that? M in college, do you have that? Like, I want to play a thing and I don't know what to play, and it's making me upset that I don't know what to play. I
All
see
the
you
time.
nodding your head, Kala.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like a meme with my friends. It's like, hey man, you want to play games? Too bad we can't because there's no games. Like, there's no games to play, because everyone like eventually kind of develops their own games that they play, and no friends really just like always play the same one. So it's
Yep.
like, oh yeah, we could play this, and then one buddy's like, no, let's play that, and it's like, oh, but I don't want to play that, and it's just so yeah. The meme is there's just no games.
What's your secondary? Because I know you play a lot of WoW. What's the other thing that you play that's not WoW that brings you some joy?
Oh, I like any horror games, or like any of those games that's like
Yes.
kind of like Ark, or like Rust, or like The Forest, or Valheim, stuff like that. Like those games where it's just like you get kind of dropped into a world and you just have to like survive and build up stuff. And those ones are really fun to play with friends. I really love when, good games like that drop, because yeah, my friends and I just like run it down on them. They're so fun.
Nice. Ems, what's your game that's like that? What's your secondary non-COD game that you go back to?
Secondary, I love horror games too. Like I'm a big horror person, love games, love
Nice.
movies. Also like just silly like Steam games, like indie games that you can play with your friends just to giggle about. Like I like things like that. I like any game really if I can like play with someone with it. Like I love just co-op and stuff. So
Sure.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're almost towards the end of our show, but I want to ask you both, what are a couple things that you've either told your audiences, your communities, or pieces of advice that you'd want to share with folks about finding a good space where they can either find a way to be calm or find a way to kind of get around the issues that they wind up seeing and kind of getting themselves into a better headspace. Emza, I'd love to hear some thoughts from you about where you are and what you kind of share with folks when they come to you with those kinds of issues.
Yeah, I feel like it's always important to like have like a routine. Like routine is extremely important. Like sometimes I don't have a routine, but once I do, like I find myself like a lot happier than when I don't. And also if you're someone that wants to just share how you're feeling, like don't bottle it up, because I used to bottle up my feelings a lot and it just isn't good for you. So like talking is so important. Like just always talk to someone, like a family member, your close friend, like never shy away from it, and just always remember that your feelings matter at the end of the day, and just focus on yourself. Like always put yourself first. Like your mental health is super important.
Love that. Colin, what would you share to folks out there who are watching the stream now or going to watch the VOD a little bit later? What would you share to those folks as well?
Honestly, I feel like the state of content creation and streaming and like the online world is pretty contrary to being human. Like you're looking at a screen, you're talking to people that aren't actually there. Sometimes if you're recording a video or if it's on stream, like you don't know where they are, what they look like, who they are, nothing like that. So like legit full disconnection is so important. Do the things that like humans have done for the past thousands of years. Go outside, go walking, go pick up heavy things and then put them down again. Like go for a run, go cook yourself some food, go hiking. Like legit, I had this conversation with a friend of mine IRL the other day. He's like, man, I've been watching you over the past like 5-10 years, and you've kind of like had these things in your life that you wanted to have happen, and then all of them have just happened. Like what's the key? I was like, you want to know what I think you need to do in order to like make your dreams come true? Start walking. And he didn't take me seriously. He hasn't done it yet. My advice is legit. Go outside for half an hour a day, walk and think about yourself. Think about your life. Think about everything about yourself that you want to change. Like the problem is we sit on our phones and we sit on our computers, and if we're like, I want my dreams to come true, okay, I'll just freaking Bing it, right? Like I'll look it up, and people just expect to find answers in the situations that they're in, and it's like you can't find those answers. You have to do some serious soul searching. I am really rambling here, but
No, I love
that's
it.
No, it's great.
No, it's
Yeah.
great.
I've been in here for so long, it feels like it just, yeah. The world is going into a place where it's all about the internet and it's all about content creation. And I think that we need to make sure that we're not leaving those parts of being human behind.
I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, for all of us, I mean, is there anything more refreshing than those weekends where you have somebody visiting or whatever, you're out of town or there's no service and you aren't on your phone or you aren't on, you know, you have that moment all the time when these things happen of like, oh man, like normally I'd be checking the internet every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes, see what's happening on Twitter. And it becomes like, that's the real world. When in reality that like, I don't know what's happening on Twitter. And guess what? In 24 hours, something else will be happening on Twitter and it won't matter.
Exactly.
It's actually really refreshing to wind up going and doing that, and I'm happy to hear you sharing that as a piece of the last things we're going to talk about for this episode of Presence of Mind. Again, if you are on the stream and you're checking it out, we have our Helping Others interactive video that you should also go check out at findyourwords.org/presence of mind. If you complete the video, you'll earn up to a 10% discount to the Cloud9 store and a chance to win one of 5 C9 HyperX accessory bundles, including a keyboard, mouse, and mouse pad. You can also enter that giveaway up to 2 times. They look beautiful. Look at that gorgeous HyperX giveaway. Purdy. Don't bet you those keys are real clicky. I love it. We're going to get up out of here for this episode of Presence of Mind. Again, thank you all for watching this week. We'll be back in another 2 weeks when we come back. And hopefully at that point, Greg would have rested from E3.
I'm sure I'll be tired from something else.
I'll be tired for something else. I may have hair on the second episode. Who knows? Again, Kyle just said go outside. I may touch some grass. We'll figure that out in between that time. Again, EmZ and Kyle, thank you so much for being here with us this week. You have been brilliant and amazing. Go check them out. Go follow their work because they do dope stuff in the world. And again, we'll see you very soon. 2 weeks from now, more Presence of Mind. See you later.
Bye.
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 You.